What's up guys? In this video we're going to continue where we left off last week and keep working on this Gatsby JS tutorial. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. Alright guys, so I've got the next step open in this tutorial, and so we're on part 2 here, or step 2 I should say, introduction to styling in Gatsby. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Let's see, the first thing we need to do, well here, let's just go ahead and read through this. So what's in this tutorial? In this part, you're going to explore options for styling Gatsby websites and dive deeper into React components for building sites. So using global styles, every site has some sort of global style. This includes things like site's typography and background colors. These styles set the overall feel of the site, much like the color and texture of the wall sets the overall feel of a room. Okay, so creating global styles with standard CSS files. One of the most straightforward ways to add global styles is to a site is using a global .css style sheet. So, creating a new Gatsby style. Start by creating a new Gatsby site. It may be best. We're just going to do this on the command line. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is the command we are going to type into the terminal. It's Gatsby new, then the name that we're gonna name this project, so tutorial part 2, and then it's gonna use this repo. So I'm gonna open up my terminal and let's cd into the desktop and we'll paste that in and run it. Alright, let me just expand this a bit so we can see everything here. Alright, so let's finish running and let me just show you. It's now on my desktop. Let me drag it over to this screen. There it is. So let's go ahead and cd into that. Let's go. Oh wow, it actually already it already wrote that code there for me to cd into it. So anyways, there we go. Alright, let's go back to the tutorial and see what we've got to do. So it says you now have a Gatsby site with the following structure. All right, so let's open this up in Atom. Actually, what we can do, let's do this the cool way. Type in Atom dot, and it should open it up. Probably open it up in this other window here. Yep, and here we are. Okay, now to the tutorial. All right, so create a .css file in your new project. So we're gonna cd make directory styles, cd into styles, and then we're going to create a global .css file. All right, so ls. So you can see we have source right here. So let's cd into source. You can see what's in here. What was the next step? It was make directory styles. All right, so make directory styles, and you can see it's been created right here. So let's cd into styles now, and then we're going to touch global.css, and you can see now there's a file there called global.css. You could have done that in the text editor if you want, but the terminal's fun sometimes too. So anyways, now we should see a structure just like this within source. Let's go ahead and see if that's how it looks. So we'll open source. We got pages and styles, and then within styles we have global.css, and within pages we have index.js. So that's looking good. All right. Define some styles in the global.css file. All right, so let's just go ahead and let's add this HTML color styling to it. Select the file, paste that in. So we're gonna make the background lavender blush, whatever color that could possibly be. Says note the placement of example CSS file in a source styles folder is arbitrary. All right then. So now we need to include the style sheet in the Gatsby browser.js. So we're going to create the Gatsby browser.js file. So it looks like we got to go back what looks like 2 directories. So let's go back 2 directories. cd, whoops, back, and then there we are. Okay, so we're at the root, and what do we need to create? Gatsby. I'll just copy this. So touch Gatsby-browser.js. All right, and you should see that right there. There we go. Okay. Let's see what we need to add into this. Let's see. What is Gatsby browser.js? So here we go. It says, don't worry too much about this for now. For now, just know that Gatsby-browser.js is one of a handful of special files that Gatsby looks for and uses if they exist. It says here, the naming of this file is important. If you do want to explore more, you can go ahead and check this out. So I will give you a link to this page in the description, and you can go and you can check that out if you want. So anyways, it says import your recently created style sheet in the Gatsby-browser.js file. So this is going to be pretty simple. So we're just going to use this one. I think it's less code, so let's use that. There we go. We'll save that. Jump back over here, and now we can actually start the development server. But before we do that, this says note both CommonJS require an ES module import syntax work here. If you are not sure which to use, we use import most of the time. So that's what we're using. We're using import instead of require. All right, let's go ahead and start up that development server. So we're going to write Gatsby develop. All right, give that just a moment. And there we go. So there's our localhost port 8000. Let's go ahead and load that. I'll copy that. Let's put this in a new tab here. And there we go. We can see the background is this lavender blush color. All right. So you can see this is matching. All right. So let's read this little tip here. This part of the tutorial has focused on the quickest and most straightforward way to get started styling a Gatsby site. Importing standard CSS files directly using Gatsby browser.js. In most cases, the best way to add global styles is with a shared layout component. And again, you can read these documents to get a better idea of what that is. So using component scoped CSS, let's CSS, yeah, CSS. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. There's a lot of S's. So far, we've talked about the more traditional approach of using standard CSS style sheets. Now we'll talk about various methods of modularizing. That's a fun word. CSS to tackle styling in a component-oriented way. So CSS modules. You can read all about this, but let's see what makes sense here. Let's a CSS module is a CSS file in which all class names and animation names are scoped locally by default. Okay. In this section, you'll create a new page component and style that page component using CSS, or using a CSS module, I should say. First, create a new container component. So we're going to create a new directory at source components. So that's going to be the new directory. And then in there, we're going to create a file named container.js. So let's go ahead and go to the text editor. We'll just do it in here for now. So source, we'll create a folder called components. And then in there, we'll create a file named container.js. And there we've got our file. All right. What else do we need to do here? And paste the following. So we're going to import React. We're going to import container styles from, we're going back a directory here, I believe. Or actually, I'm not really sure what that means yet. So let's not get into that. Container.module.css. That's what we're going to import. And then we're going to export the children and this here. Okay. Paste that in. Save it. Let's see what else it asks us to do. You will notice we imported a CSS module file named container.module.css. Let's create that file now. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and create that. So in the same directory, source components, create a container.module.css file. So you can see that this module is, well, here, let me copy this real quick because we need to create this anyways. And where's the text editor? See how this is container.js? So this is container.module.css. So this is the scoped CSS right here. All right, let's go back and see what we need to get. We need to get this container. So let's grab that and paste that in here. All right, you'll notice that the file name ends with .module.css instead of the usual .css. This is how you tell Gatsby that the CSS file should be processed as a CSS module rather than plain CSS. Okay. All right, so step 3, create a new page component by creating a file at source pages, and then we're going to write about CSS modules.js. So that's going to be our new file, about CSS modules.js. Let's go ahead and create that. Select this, about CSS modules.js. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and paste this in there. So again, we're importing React, and then we're importing container, which is the component that we just made with scoped CSS. And then we're just going to export all of this right here using that component container. Let's paste that in. And then now if you visit this, again, I'm going to copy this just to make it easier because it's using localhost. Your page should look like this. So let's go see if everything we did worked. And there you go, it has worked. So now that scoped CSS, well, it's working for this component. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. Styling a component using CSS modules. In this section, you'll create a list of people with names, avatars, and short Latin biographies. You'll create a user component and style that component using a CSS module. So create the file for the CSS at source pages about CSS modules.module.css. That was a mouthful, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this as well. And let's create that. So again, this is right here in pages. We're going to create a file about-css-modules.module.css. Let's create that. All right. So we're going to copy all this CSS. Now we're not going to even look through this because it's CSS. We've used that before. So we'll just pretend we read through that. Import the new source pages about CSS modules.module.css file into the about CSS modules.js page you created earlier by editing the first few lines of the file. So let's see here. We are going to import this. Let's go back to the page here, paste that in there. So we're going to import styles from that and console.log styles. So let's, I hope you caught on to that. Styles. That's what we're gonna console log. All right. Does it say where to put that actually? Let's just put it up here for now and see if that works. Did I get any errors? Nope. Okay. All right, so now if we look at the developer tools here and go to the console, you should see, well, a lot of stuff, but this object, here we go. I think this is right. Yeah. Object. Okay, oh, here it is. All right. Let's refresh this page, actually. Okay. There we go. This looks like everything that we just added in here. You see avatar, description, username, excerpt. So let's go back and see what this is going to show us. So if you compare that CSS, yeah, this is exactly what we've got going on there. You'll see that each class is now a key in the imported object pointing to a long string, e.g. avatar points to source dash pages dash 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 about dash css dash modules dash module dash 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 avatar dash 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 2lrf7. Okay. These are class names CSS modules generates. They're guaranteed to be unique across your site, and because you have to import them to use the classes, there's never any question about where some CSS is being used. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a user component. To create a new user component in line in the about-css-modules.js page component, modify the about. Well, we're just going to modify that page. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this here, and that's going to go beneath the console log before the export. Beneath the console log and before the export. And then let's go down here and let's grab this bit of code. So we're just going to grab this, and that's going to go within the container and then after the paragraph tag. So a container after the paragraph tag, save that. And it says generally if you use a component in multiple places on a site, it should be in its own module file in the components directory. But if it's used only in one file, created in line. That makes sense. So the finished page should now look like this. Let's go ahead and refresh it. Well, we don't have to refresh it, but there it is. It looks exactly like that. Perfect. All right. CSS in JS. CSS in JS is a component-oriented styling approach. Most generally, it is a pattern where CSS is composed in line using JavaScript. So, using CSS in JS with Gatsby, there are many differences, many different CSS in JS libraries. Many of them have Gatsby plugins already, so that's obviously it's not going to show us everything. But anyways, there's some things that you can look at. There's many tutorials for two of the libraries here, Emotion and Styled Components, and there's other CSS options that you can use, typography.js, Sass.js, Stylus, and Post CSS, and more. But I think that is going to do it for this one. Alright guys, that's it for this video. We've successfully added some CSS to our Gatsby project, and we also added some scoped CSS to the project as well. If this video helped you, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And if you like the content that I'm creating on this channel, head on over to my Patreon account at patreon.com/ZacharyRNewton, where you can help support this channel and help me create better videos every week. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.